Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on something that, well, maybe gets treated a bit like plumbing in some businesses. Human resources and staffing. Necessary, but not strategic.
Right. Often seen as just paperwork, compliance, maybe the occasional awkward exit interview.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of reactive view. That's what our sources today really push back against.
Yeah, strongly. We're here to unpack how staffing done right isn't reactive at all. It's actually maybe the most critical proactive link between a company's big vision and, actually making money.
That's really the mission for us today, isn't it? To elevate HR, staffing from just ticking boxes to being a core strategic tool.
Absolutely, because you can have all the capital, all the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the people, the human resource that actually directs everything. They combine all those other resources, the money, the tech, materials, to make stuff or deliver services.
And if that directing force isn't top-notch.
Well, then the rest doesn't matter much, does it? Quality in, quality out.
Okay, so let's get clear on the terms the sources use. We need to define these properly. First up, staffing.
Right, and staffing,
Sure.
it's way more than just, sticking a job ad online.
Yeah, it's the whole comprehensive thing, isn't it? The sources say it's about finding the right person,
Acquiring them, yep.
them preparing them.
And, crucially, retaining them, keeping that good employee in the role.
Setting them up for success long-term within the company.
Exactly.
Right.
And who actually does this staffing? Well, it really depends on the size of the business.
Right, smaller places.
Usually the owner, maybe they lean on some senior employees for input, for interviews, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. But when the business grows,
Then you pretty much always see a specialist step in, a dedicated HR manager whose whole job revolves around this.
okay, which leads us naturally to the next big term, human resource management, HRM.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it shifts from just tasks like hiring to managing the actual relationship.
Precisely. The formal definition talks about the effective management of the formal relationship between the employer and the employees.
Okay.
And HRM is what coordinates that whole relationship, everything involved in what's often called the employment cycle.
And looking at the list of activities in that cycle, it seems pretty comprehensive.
It is, but think of it less like a rigid checklist and more like managing the whole journey.
Okay.
So HRM covers the initial workforce planning, figuring out who you need, then recruitment, the actual selection process,
Mhm.
making sure all the legal stuff is covered. Then there's the ongoing things, training, induction for new hires, development,
Performance reviews.
appraisals, yeah. And eventually, even handling departures or dismissals, it's a continuous loop.
And that idea of a loop, of it being continuous, seems really important. Our sources emphasize that staffing needs aren't static, are they? They're always changing.
Never static. A business grows, or maybe a competitor makes a move, or just, people retire or resign.
So someone, the HR manager or the owner, has to be constantly watching, planning.
Constantly adjusting. It's a dynamic process.
Which brings us right to the core question, the tension we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
How does all this work? All this, let's be honest, administrative effort.
Mm.
How does that translate directly into hitting those big business objectives?
Yeah.
Making a profit, expanding the business, gaining market share.
Well, the sources are really clear on this. The link is direct. Employees, especially the really skilled and qualified ones,
Right.
they are the ones generating the bulk of a business's revenue. Yes, they're a major expense line, no doubt,
Of course.
but they are the engine of productivity.
Productivity, that's the key word here, isn't it?
It really is. And we probably don't need to get bogged down in the textbook output divided by input definition.
Mm.
You know it's about efficiency.
Right.
What's strategically interesting, though, is how staffing impacts that equation. There are really two main ways.
Okay, this feels important.
Yeah.
Most people probably think about it the first way, right? How do we get more out? Increase the numerator.
Exactly. How do we get increased output, or maybe better quality output, from the same amount of input, same number of people, same hours?
Which is good, obviously, but maybe leads to pushing people too hard sometimes. Burnout.
Can do, yeah. That's why the second path is so strategically powerful and maybe less obvious.
Which is?
Maintaining the same level of output, same quality, but doing it with fewer inputs.
So reducing the denominator.
Precisely. And this isn't about making people work less hard. It's about working smarter. It means less waste.
Less wasted time, fewer mistakes.
Exactly. Less material used unnecessarily. It's about efficiency baked into the process because you hired and trained the right people.
So it's like cost control through sheer competence.
You got to hire someone efficient, train them well, and you're actively cutting your operating costs without, cutting corners on quality.
And either path more output or less input boosts productivity.
And that improvement flows directly to the bottom line, either increased revenue or decreased expenses. Both mean better profits.
Makes sense. And there's another layer too, right? Motivation.
Oh, absolutely. HR isn't just managing skills, it's managing effort, engagement.
So if employees feel valued, supported,
Yeah.
maybe through good HR practices like fair pay, good communication.
They work harder, they give that discretionary effort, and that extra push. That's often what fuels growth, what helps grab more market share.
Okay, so we've established the why. Now let's get into the how. Moving from the general idea of good HR to specific actions.
Right. How do specific staffing strategies actually support strategies in other parts of the business? It's not HR in a vacuum.
It's like an internal support system.
Exactly. The HR team needs to work with other managers. Maybe operations needs people skilled in, say, lean manufacturing. HR recruits for that.
Or marketing wants customer service folks with a very specific brand-aligned attitude.
HR finds them. It's about tailoring the people strategy to support the overall business strategy.
Let's dig into those examples from the source table. They really show this linkage clearly. Let's start with objectives around speed and quality. Operational stuff.
Okay. So, one objective listed is be the quickest supplier of parts components, fast turnaround.
Right. What's the HR strategy linked to that?
It's about improving worker productivity, specifically via a thorough selection and training process.
Ah, so you build the speed capability right into the hiring and onboarding. You select for speed, you train for speed.
Exactly. You design it in from day one with that employee.
Okay, another operational one. Provide a safe workplace. Now, the obvious thing might be, I don't know, buying safety gear.
Hmm.
But the HR strategy listed is interesting. Establishment of work teams. Why teams for safety?
Well, think about it. Safety isn't just about equipment. It's often about human behavior, right?
True.
Work teams create a sense of shared responsibility, peer pressure, but in a good way. You look out for your teammates.
So you're more likely to notice if someone's doing something risky or if a machine needs checking.
Precisely. It fosters a safety culture organically. It's using team structure to drive down accidents, which ultimately saves costs.
That's a really smart link.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears to objectives that are more customer-facing or about growth,
Right. Things that often depend more on attitude, engagement.
like increase in customer satisfaction. What's the HR lever for that?
The strategy here is about making sure staff really get how the business operates, what the standards are. So it's achieved via an effective induction program.
The onboarding process again.
Yeah, induction is where you lay down the blueprint for how you want customers treated. You set those expectations right at the start. That's how you build consistency and satisfaction.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And the big one, increase in sales. Everyone wants that.
Always.
This often isn't about a technical skill, is it? It's more about morale, drive.
Exactly. The source links increased sales as an objective to the HR goal of creating a motivated workplace.
Okay, and the specific strategy example given.
Introduction of flexible work practices.
Ah, interesting. So things like flexible hours, maybe remote work options.
Could be things that signal trust and respect from the employer. Flexible work is often a really powerful, relatively low-cost motivator.
And that feeling of being trusted, respected,
Yeah.
that translates into extra effort.
Often, yes. That discretionary effort we talked about. The employee who stays a bit late to close a sale or makes that extra follow-up call because they want to, not just because they have to, that's motivation driving sales.
So you've got all these carefully designed strategies in place, linking HR to business goals.
Yeah.
How do you know if it's actually working? How do you measure staff performance?
Good question. Performance evaluation basically looks at how well an employee carries out their job activities.
Okay.
Specifically in relation to achieving those overall business objectives we've been talking about.
And what kind of things are measured? The sources mention a few key areas.
Yeah, there's employee efficiency, pretty straightforward. How well do they use their time, resources, etc.
Okay. What else?
Their ability to work effectively as part of a team. Super important, especially with that team-based safety strategy we mentioned.
Right.
And maybe one of the biggest ones today. Their willingness and their ability to adjust to change. Adaptability.
Ah, yeah. If you have staff who just dig their heels in whenever something new comes along,
Yeah.
new tech, new market focus.
That's a massive drag on performance. It slows everything down. So adaptability itself becomes a key performance measure.
Which brings us to the less pleasant side. What happens if the evaluation shows performance isn't up to scratch?
Well, then you see a pretty direct negative impact. The objectives are put at risk,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
If work processes are inefficient, people are making mistakes, wasting materials, missing deadlines, that directly increases business costs.
And higher costs obviously hit the goal of maximizing profit.
Straight away, it eats into margins.
So it becomes this negative cycle. Poor performance leads to scrambling, maybe needing more reactive strategies just to fix the basics.
Absolutely. Low performance means you suddenly have to focus intensely on improving recruitment, selection, induction, just to get back to a baseline.
Whereas the flip side,
The flip side is powerful. Productive staff, efficient staff, they actively lower costs. They help increase sales. They're constantly contributing to achieving those goals. Profit, growth, market share, good staffing reinforces success.
it really drives home that main point we started with, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Employees aren't just a cost. They are arguably the most critical resource.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality, the motivation of those employees has a direct, maybe even the biggest impact on whether the business actually hits its targets.
It's fundamental. And it's not some new management fad either. It's timeless wisdom.
Yeah.
There's that great quote in the source material from Jerry Harvey, chairman of Harvey Norman.
Oh, yeah, what did he say?
He said, businesses are made by people. We've proven time and again that you can have a wonderful shop and put a bloke in there who's no good and he'll stuff it up. Put a good bloke in and it just turns around like that.
Wow, just like that.
That immediate impact. It shows staffing isn't just some long game strategy. It affects things today operationally.
It really does just boil down to the people.
It does.
So before we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
we talked quite a bit about productivity, and particularly that less obvious path. Reducing inputs, reducing waste to maintain output.
Right, the efficiency side.
So here's something for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Think about your own work or your organization. If efficiency is about cutting waste, where's the hidden waste?
Interesting angle.
I mean, maybe it's not just waste of materials or time. Maybe the biggest waste is friction.
Friction.
Yeah, like friction between departments that don't communicate well, or the friction caused by overly complex approval processes, or just the friction when someone isn't quite the right fit for their role, causing delays or misunderstandings.
Okay, I see where you're going.
If you started thinking about staff selection, training, and maybe even team design as ways to actively reduce that organizational friction, what kind of measurable cost-saving profit could that unlock?
Framing staffing as a friction reduction strategy. That really highlights the cost of getting it wrong, doesn't it? That's a great thought to leave people with.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into staffing and its direct line to business success.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion.
We'll get you next time.